Welcome back to the Select Staff Record and Update Staff Record lesson demonstration. Now, as you can see inside this project, Experiment Data Management Project, I have this ADMUpdateStaff.aspx, and right now you notice that I have already expanded it so that I can see the presentation file and also the code behind file. But before I can actually work on these two, I would like to go and focus more on the data layer part, which is the CStaffManager. You see, the CStaffManager will actually need to have a method. What is the name of this method? getOneStaffData. Okay, it will need to have this method. Now, what is the purpose of this method? This method will need to have the necessary code, right? The necessary code to grab the correct staff record from the database, okay, from the database, and it will also just grab one record only. It will just grab one record only. So in other words, I will need to go and start testing the SQL part, right? Now, of course, the web form is definitely going to use this method sooner or later. Means that the ADM update one staff, under the page load here, it will definitely need to go and call the getOneStaffData method. It will definitely need to go and call this, which belongs to the CStaffManager class object. So in other words, that it will definitely sooner or later need to go and use this method in order to go and grab one record from the database. So let me come back to the class file here. Now, in order to allow the web form to go and collect information from this method, of course, this getOneStaffData need to go and have a nice good data table type. Okay, you will need to go and return a data table of information. Right, then after that, in order for the web form to be able to go and see this method, I will need to go and set it to public. And of course, you notice that right now it is complaining. Why? Because I have not returned anything yet. Okay, I have not returned anything yet. So let us just leave it as it is. Now, what about the necessary code here? Let us not delve into this yet. Let us come back to the SQL Server Management Studio, and let me actually just use this query window, right, in order to go and practice. So in other words, that if I want 5, what will I get? I will get one record, which is Maggie. If I want 2, what will I get? I will have one record, which is Simpson. If I want 3, of course, it will be Susan, etc. or Susanna, because I've already used this record to do some changes. Okay, now, so, well, basically, this is the SQL that has already been tested. Can we trust this SQL? Yes, we can trust this SQL. So definitely this SQL is trustworthy enough, and I would like to go and include it inside the inside this method here. So what is the SQL? The SQL is this one. This is the one that has already been tested. And of course, I cannot just leave the string of SQL like that inside the method. I need to go and get a variable to store it. So I will create a string SQL text, right, in order to go and store this SQL statement here. Okay, now then after that, of course, I will definitely need a connection object. Why do I need a connection object? Because this is the variable that will, or the object that will be in charge of connecting to the database. Okay, so I've already create a an SQL connection object. Okay, what is the name of this object? It's called connection. Then I need to go and create a SQL command object. What is this for? So this one is actually for the purpose of holding the SQL statement. So let me activate it. Okay, so after I have already created the command object, since it is supposed to hold the SQL statement, so of course it has this command text property, and I will just assign the content of the SQL text variable into it. Because SQL text variable contains this SQL statement, so in other words, I'm just assigning the SQL statement stored inside this SQL text variable, and I'm assigning into where? I'm assigning into the command text property, which belongs to the CMD object. Okay, so that is what I've done. Then the next thing is that I need to go and tell the command object that you are supposed to go and make use of the connection object that I've created just now, right? So this is actually just to tell the CMD command object to use the connection object that I have created just now. Okay, now, so in other words, that if this one I name it as CONN, so this one should be CONN as well, right? So this one should be CONN. So I can actually use any names I want, but normally I would prefer to go and use connection so that I'm more comfortable with it. Now, so the next thing is that of course I will definitely need a very nice SQL Data Adapter class, right? And this one is in charge of coordinating all the information transfer. So this one is actually equals to new SQL Data Adapter. Okay, right, it is very good. This variable is very good. This object is very good. It can help us to go and adapt information that we collect from the database into something that is usable by our C# code here. Okay, that's why they call it SQL Data Adapter. So I've already created an SQL Data Adapter class object, and what is it? It's called AD. Okay, now then after that, of course, AD does not just work alone. It must be, I must tell it that you are going to use the what? The CMD, right? So this is what I'm going to do, right? So of course I am actually just using the select command property, right? Because the AD actually has the select command property, right, to tell the AD to use CMD. That is basically what it means. Okay, now then after that, of course, it is also time for me to go and ask the connection object to open an active connection to the database. Means that begin what? Begin open an active connection to the correct database in the correct database server machine. Okay, right? But then, or the computer name, basically this is just mean the computer name. Okay, now the problem is that how can it open without me telling the connection string information? So I'm actually using the connection string property. I'm actually going to use the what am I going to do? Using the connection string, right, connection string property to tell the connection object, right, where the heck is the database, right, or in which computer, whatever, right? Okay, so of course am I going to start typing some here? No, because if I've used this project in my previous YouTube session, I will definitely have already got an available connection string. So I will just actually copy it, and I will just easily just paste. Okay, so in every command must end with a semicolon. Okay, thank you very much. So then finally, right after I've opened, then it is time for me to go and tell the AD to fill what? Oh, okay, then after that I'm actually going to tell the connection to close. Okay, now you see, what does AD do? AD is actually an SQL Data Adapter class object. It is actually used, right, by calling the fill method. When I call the fill method, I'm actually telling the AD, can you please, this is what I'm going to tell. I'm telling the AD, say, AD, can you please tell the CMD to send the SQL, which is the what? Select asterisk from staff, where staff record ID equals to 3, right? Okay, so send the SQL to the database, right, through or with the help of the connection object. Why? Because the connection object knows where the database is. Okay, so in other words, the CMD will do the job. Okay, so the database will receive it. So what is this SQL? This SQL is selecting, let's just say that I will use another SQL, let's say 1 is Daniel, right? So if this one is 1, right, so the database will receive this SQL, and yes, 1 is here. So this is actually the database format. This is actually the results. The results of this is actually going to be sent back to the AD. right? AD will receive it, but AD does not store it. It must store it inside a book or something, like a secretary, right? You write something on a book. So have I declared a book? No. But is there such a thing called book class? No. It's called what? Data set. Okay, and this one I will just name it as DS. So a book also needs to be activated, so I will just call it as data set. So this is actually what I've been doing so far. So of course, right, when you write a book, you don't write on all pages on the book, you only write on one page, right? So after you have written one page, then you must name the page. So what is the most appropriate name that we should put? Staff data. Okay, I can actually use ABC, I can use XYZ. It's just naming, but I choose to use staff data. Okay, so in other words, I've already written the results inside the DS. In other words, that when the database send back this result is actually going to be stored inside DS. So if you want to imagine what is DS, DS is actually this one, right? This DS is actually what you see here. This whole thing is DS, right? But stored in one page, okay, right? And what is the name of the page? Staff data, okay, right? Now then after that, of course, after the job done, I must remember to connection dot close. Right now, basically, I'm not going to demonstrate here. Oh, too close is a bad thing. Okay, just one close. Now, I'm not going to demonstrate here, but actually, this command and this command is not really necessary. When I call this, it will also auto open. It will also auto close. Okay, right? But it is a good habit that you place the open and the closing here. It is a good habit. Okay. Now, then after that, but in the future, it may not be a good habit. But well, never mind. Now, then after that, well, this is actually the necessary code, and I've already got the code to collect the record from the database. What is the record? Daniel, right? Daniel, correct or not? Right? But the method is not used this way. It is used to what? Get the record and throw it back to the web form. This is our web form. Okay. Or if I use the Google Doc here, right? This is our web form. We need to go and throw the information back to the web form. Okay, come on, scroll. This is the web form, Daniel. We need to go and show it up here, right? So there's no point just allowing the DS just stop there like that. We need to go and spit it back to the web form. How to go and spit? Is there a thing called spit? No, it's called what? Return. Right, return. Now notice that just now there was a red line, right? Okay, wait. Let me delete this one. Right, get one staff data. Right, notice that there was a red line, right? Correct or not? Why? Because there's no return. So right now I will just put okay, finally return. Notice that it will stop complain. Hey, come on lah, stop complain. You see? Stop complain already. Okay. Now then after here I just return what? Return the DS. But return a book? Come on lah. No need to return a book. Do you know why or not? The book only got one page written with this result. So why want to go and return a book? Just return one page in the book. So just return one page in the book. But there's no such thing called page, right? It's called what? Tables. Okay. So fine. Every time when I use a square bracket, means that I'm telling it to flip to the correct page. Find. It's called finding. Okay. So find what? Find the page which is having the name called staff data. Like that then. Yes, right. This method is more complete right now. Notice this get one staff, right? Any input parameter here? No, not yet. But sooner or later we will need it, right? So in other words, right, this one let me tell you one thing. For the next 100 years, if you don't do anything about this, right, this method will only just return Daniel. Correct or not? Right? It will just forever return Daniel, right? Because the staff record ID is always 1, right? But never mind. We just complete our testing here first. So right now we need to go and come back to the page load event handler, and we need to go and do something here, and we also need to go and do something with the presentation file. So this one I will leave to the next segment, right? Next segment we are actually going towards the presentation layer development. Presentation layer development consists of 2 files. We need to go and work on the code behind file. We will also need to go and work on the what do you call that? Presentation file. Okay, right? So see you next segment, and I hope you are all learning something. Thank you very much.